Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. In this lecture we discuss about the vertebrate nervous system. This is our last lecture of communication 1, that is related to nerves, and in this lecture we cover the following points. These are the spinal cord, spinal nerves, brain, cranial nerves, and the last one is the autonomic nervous system. We discuss in detail one by one. So what is firstly what is the vertebrate nervous system? So, vertebrate nervous system basically they have a specific organization in their nervous system, like they have a bilateral symmetry and also having the notochord and tubular nerve cord as well. These are the characterize the evolution of vertebrate nervous system. Basically, these three are the basic characteristics of the vertebrate nervous system. This is the having the bilateral symmetry and notochord and tubular nerve cord as well. So, firstly, we discuss about the notochord. What is notochord? So notochord, basically this is rod of mesodermally derived tissue that is enclosed in film sheath that lies ventral to the tubular nerve cord, that lies to the ventral to the neural tube basically. And it first appeared in marine chordates. Firstly appeared in marine chordates and present in all types of vertebrate embryos, but is greatly reduced or absent in adults. So, during the development, embryological development in vertebrate species like vertebrae are serially arranged into vertebral column, and that replaces the notochord. So, the vertebral column led to the development of strong muscles that allowing the vertebrates to become fast moving predatory animals, and some further bones developed into powerful jaws, that bones which develop into powerful jaws, which is responsible for the predatory nature of the animals as well. So this is about the notochord, and after this we discuss about the flowchart of the nervous system. This is the flowchart of the nervous system. In this, nervous system is divided into two categories. These are the CNS and PNS, like central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So in case of central nervous system, it receives and and initiates the action as well. And in case of peripheral nervous system, it is responsible for the transmission of signals between the nervous system and remaining part of the body as well. And after this, central nervous system is divided into further three categories. These are the spinal cord, brainstem, and brain. So, spinal cord basically it conducts signal from brain and controls the reflex action as well. And brain, it receives and process sensory information and also initiates the response and also stores the memory and grades thoughts and emotions as well. And the function of brainstem is it connects the brain to the spinal cord. And in case of peripheral nervous system, it is divided into further two categories. These are the motor neurons and sensory neurons. And motor neurons, which are responsible for the carry signals from activities of muscles and glands as well. And in case of sensory neurons, it carries signal. In case of sensory neurons, they carry signals to central nervous system from sensory organs. And motor neurons divided into further two categories. These are the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. So motor neurons controls voluntary movements by activating the skeletal muscles, and in case of autonomic nervous system, it controls involuntary responses by influencing organs, glands, and smooth muscles as well. So the autonomic nervous system divided into further two categories. These are the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And sympathetic nervous system responsible for the prepare the body for stress or energetic activity like fight or flight के लिए जो है sympathetic nervous system all time ready रहता है. And in case of parasympathetic nervous system, it dominates during times of rest and rumination, directs maintenance activities. to maintain the activity, which is responsible for the maintenance of activity. After the flowchart of the nervous system, we move towards the tubular nerve cord. So what is the tubular nerve cord? Tubular nerve cord above the notochord. This is the location of the tubular nerve cord, where the tubular nerve cord is present. So it is present above the notochord, and nerve cord undergo regional modification. Like during early evolution, nerve cord undergo expansion, regional modification, and specialization into spinal cord and brain. With the time passes, interior and thickened with nervous tissue, and it is functionally divided into different parts that are the hindbrain, midbrain, and forebrain. So, in the sensory world of fast-moving and powerful vertebrates, the interior sensory receptors became more complex and bilaterally symmetrical. Interior sensory receptors, these are the complex and having the bilateral symmetry. For example, paired structures such as eyes and ears develop together information from the outside environment. So after this we move towards the divisions of nervous system. So what are the divisions of nervous system? Nervous system of vertebrates has two main divisions. These are the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system composed of brain and spinal cord, and it act as a site of information processing as well. In peripheral nervous system composed of all the nerves of body outside the brain and spinal cord, and these type of nerves are commonly divided into further two groups. These are the sensory nerves and motor nerves. So sensory nerves, which transmit information to central nervous system and also called the efferent nerves, and motor nerves carry commands away from central nervous system, and motor nerves divided into further two categories, and motor nerves also called the efferent nerves, and further two categories of motor neurons, that are the voluntary or involuntary nervous system. Voluntary and involuntary nervous system. So in case of voluntary nervous system, this relies command to skeletal muscles, and in case of involuntary nervous system, which stimulates other muscles like smooth and cardiac muscle and glands of body, and the nerves of autonomic nervous system, which is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So nervous system pathways, next one is the nervous system pathways. The nervous system pathways composed of individual neuronal axons. These are the tracts and nerves. So like nervous system pathways composed of individual neuronal axons, which bundled like the strands of telephone cable. In the CNS, these bundles of nerve fiber are called tracts. In case of central nervous system, nerve fibers, bundle of nerve fibers, these are the tracts, and in case of peripheral nervous system, they are called nerves. And cell bodies from which the axon extend often cluster into groups, and these groups called nuclei if they are in the central nervous system, and ganglia if they are part of the PNS. So after the nervous system pathways, we move towards the next part, that is the spinal cord. So what is the spinal cord? Spinal cords basically have two important functions, like it provides the connecting link for the body, and it initiates the spinal reflex actions as well. So it is act as the connecting link between the brain and most of the body, and spinal reflex action involved in spinal cord involved in the spinal reflex actions as well. So spinal cord part of central nervous system, and it extends from brain to tail. So there is a cross section cross section of spinal cord shows different points. These are the neural canal, gray matter, ventral and dorsal roots, and white matter as well. So what is the neural canal? Neural canal that contains cerebrospinal fluid. canal having cerebrospinal fluid, and gray matter. Gray matter consists of cell bodies and dendrites and is concerned mainly with reflex connections. Reflex connections, and it is various levels of the spinal cord in case of gray matter exist, and ventral and dorsal roots extending from spinal cord are the ventral and dorsal roots of the spinal nerves, and these roots having the main motor and sensory fibers. These are the dendrites or axons as well, that contribute to the major spinal nerves. And in case of white matter of spinal cord gets its name from whitish myelin that covers the axons. White matter gives its name from the whitish myelin that covers the axon. So after cross section of the spinal cord, we move towards the next part, that is the meninges. So what is the meninges? Meninges, basically these are the protective layers or protective membranes, three protective layers like dura mater, arachnoid matter and pia mater. So what is the dura mater? Like these protective membranes or layers surround the spinal cord, and they continues with similar layers that cover the brain. These are the outer layer. This is the dura mater, and this is in case of structure, like what type of structure of dura mater is, it is tough fibrous membrane, and the middle layer, that is the arachnoid, and this is the delicate and connects to the innermost layer, that is the pia mater. Pia mater contains small blood vessels that nourishes the spinal cord. After the meninges, we move towards the next topic, that is the spinal nerves. So what is the spinal nerves? Basically simply number of spinal nerves is directly related to number of segments in the trunk and tail of a vertebrate. So for example, frog has evolved strong hind legs for swimming or jumping, and reduced trunk and no tail in the adult. So it has only 10 pairs of spinal nerves. So how many spinal nerves are present in case of frog? There are only 10 pairs of spinal nerves are present in case of frog. Next is the snake. Snake, which moves by lateral undulations of its long trunk and tail, has several hundred pairs of spinal nerves. After this, we move towards the brain. So vertebrate brain develop at the interior end of spinal cord. This is the location of the brain. So during the embryonic development, brain undergoes regional expansion as a hollow tube of nervous tissue develops into hindbrain, midbrain and the forebrain as well. In central canal of spinal cords that extends up into brain, and it helps to expand into chambers. That chambers are called the ventricles, and these ventricles are filled with cerebrospinal fluid. So we discuss in detail one by one. First one is the hindbrain. So hindbrain includes medulla oblongata, cerebellum and pons as well. So in case of hindbrain is continuous with the spinal cord, and it includes the following parts. First one is the medulla oblongata, and medulla oblongata is the enlargement where spinal cord enters the brain. This is the enlargement from where the spinal cord enters into the brain, and it contains reflex center for breathing, swallowing, cardiovascular functions and gastric secretions as well. And the medulla oblongata is well developed in all jawed vertebrates, and this is the reflecting its ability to control visual functions, and also to serve as a screen for information that leaves or enters into the brain. After this, So next one is the cerebellum, and the cerebellum basically this is a outgrowth of medulla oblongata, and it coordinates motor activity, and it is associated with limb movement, maintaining posture, and also for the spatial orientation. In cerebellum in cartilaginous fishes has anterior and posterior lobes. In teleos, the cerebellum is enlarged in active swimmers and small in inactive fishes. So, amphibians often have rudimentary cerebellum, reflecting their relatively simple locomotor. Having simple locomotor patterns, and in case of tetrapods, the cerebellum is laterally expanded. These expanded lateral lobes provide locomotor patterns and common evolutionary history of limb development and phylogeny as terrestrial vertebrates. So after this we move towards the last part of the hindbrain, that is the pons. The pons is act like a bridge of transverse nerve tracts from the cerebrum of forebrain to both sides of the cerebellum, and it also contains tracts that connects the forebrain and spinal cord in all type of vertebrates. So this is about the medulla oblongata major points, and these are about the cerebellum, and this is about the pons. After this, this is the hindbrain structure having the cerebellum, brainstem, medulla oblongata, and pons as well. After this, we move towards the second part of the brain, that is the midbrain. Midbrain, it is a center for coordinating and reflex responses. Like midbrain was originally a center for coordinating reflex responses to visual input. As the brain evolved, it took on added functions, that is relating to touch, that is the tactile, and hearing, that is the auditory input, but it did not change in size. So the roof of the midbrain called the optic tectum. So what is the optic tectum? Roof of the midbrain, that is the optic tectum, is thickened region of gray matter that integrates visual and auditory signals as well, and it is responsible for hearing, also for the motor control and sleep awakeness cycle, and temperature regulation as well. After this we move toward the third part, that is the forebrain. Forebrain has two main parts, that is the diencephalon or talenscephalon. First one is the diencephalon, lies in front of midbrain and contains thalamus, hypothalamus, and pineal gland. So these are the divisions of brain: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain, as well as the diencephalon is there and talenscephalon is also there. This is the development of the vertebrate brain. This is the summary of the development of the vertebrate as well. Main components is there, and the brain divisions are also there. After this we move towards the diencephalon, that is the diencephalon, lies in front of midbrain and contains thalamus, hypothalamus, and pineal gland. So thalamus, which relies all sensory information to hide brain centers, and hypothalamus lies below the thalamus and regulates many functions such as the body temperature, sexual drive, and carbohydrate metabolism, and hunger and thirst as well. So pineal gland controls body rhythms, and pituitary is a major endocrine gland as well. Second division of the talenscephalon is the second division of the forebrain is the talenscephalon. That is, as the diencephalon slowly expanded during evolution and handled more and more sensory functions, the talenscephalon expanded rapidly in both size and complexity. So there are different parts like cerebrum and cerebral cortex as well. In case of cerebrum, external to corpus stratum is the cerebrum, which is divided by a large groove into right and left cerebral hemispheres, and parts of the brain which are related to sensory and motor integration that are greatly changed in as vertebrates more agile and interested. And in case of cerebral cortex, many functions shifted from the optic tectum to expanding cerebral hemispheres, and the increasing importance of cerebrum affected many other brain regions as well. So the thalamus and cerebrum, in case of mammals, the outermost part of cerebrum, that is the cerebral cortex. In case of mammals, outermost part of the brain, that is the cerebrum, that is the cerebral cortex. So what is the function of cerebrum? There is a different parts of cerebrum have specific functions, like for example, cerebral cortex contains primary sensory areas and primary motor areas as well. And other areas of the cortex involved in perception of visual auditory signals from environment, and in case of humans includes the ability to use language, both written and spoken as well. After the forebrain, that is the cranial nerves. So what is the cranial nerves? In addition to paired spinal nerves, the peripheral nervous system of vertebrates includes paired cranial nerves. Reptiles, birds, and mammals have 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So, reptile, birds, and mammals have the number of what type of number of cranial nerves? There are 12 pairs. Fishes and amphibians have only the first 10 pairs, and some of the nerves, that is the optic nerve, contain only sensory axons that carry signals to the brain, and contain sensory and motor axons in case of others, and term mixed nerve as well. For example, vagus nerve has sensory axons that leading to heart and smooth muscles of visceral organs in the thorax and the abdomen region. So after the cranial nerves, we move towards the last topic of our communication one, that is related to nerves. This is the autonomic nervous system. So vertebrate autonomic nervous system composed of two divisions that act as antagonistically to control body's involuntary muscles and glands as well. So first one is the parasympathetic and second one is the sympathetic nervous system. तो इसको आप देख लीजिएगा, डिटेल से हम पहले भी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द communication 1 and nerves as well. This is the vertebrate nervous system.